All right, let me just open my video as I welcome everyone. Right. So time check, it's already 5:32 in the afternoon. So welcome. I hope that you came in into the right Zoom link. So we will be holding reporting standards for qualitative research with Dr. Samantha Erica Mendez. So I just like to welcome everyone who are here currently. We have 87 participants for this particular seminar, and we are expecting more to come in maybe a bit later. But also, I would like to remind everyone to only use one device. So, because we want to accommodate more Zoom IDs, I think the Zoom can only accommodate 300. So, I hope that we would also give space for other Zoom users, no? Uh, but yeah, so I'd like to welcome everyone. I know I cannot ask everyone to open their videos, but I hope that you can also welcome each other by sending some reaction signs. So para alam ko naman din na nandito kayo. There you go. I see some hearts there. I see some claps. Ano pa bang nandyan? Ayan, yung parang celebration, no? Um, yung iba, simple lang, parang thumbs up. Ganyan. Let's see. So I see some familiar faces, no? I see some familiar names. Ayan. Yung iba, very unique ang kanilang mga nilagay, no? Na reaction. Parang I see some nail polish na kind of signs. Yung iba in love, so yun ang kanilang reactions. But nonetheless, I would like to welcome everyone who are here. So this is the fourth a session or fourth partnership in terms of giving seminar ng OGP at ng PSSR. So by the way, my name is Dr. Summer Parcon. I'm from the Department of Psychology, but now I'm also holding an office here in the CSSP Office of Graduate Program. So a lot of people are still coming in, but let me introduce na tell you something more about OGP or CSSP Office of Graduate Program. No, so let me just share my screen once again. Ayan. So again, welcome to Reporting Standards of Qualitative Research. No, so just a little background about CSSP Office of Graduate Program. So these are the master's degree programs that we offer. So meron tayong MA Anthropology, MA Demography, MS Geography, MA History, MA Linguistics, MA Philosophy, MA Political Science, MA Psychology, MA Sociology, Masters in International Affairs, and also Master in Population Studies. So some of these programs have already opened their application for their programs, for their respective programs. So so these are the programs that are being offered in our college. In terms of doctoral degree programs, we have PhD Anthropology, PhD History, Linguistics, Philosophy, Political Science, PhD Psychology, Sociology, and then we have the PhD Philippine Studies. So just in case you are interested, at least alam nyo na. So these are the programs being offered by our college or College of Social Sciences and Philosophy. So basically, our office is the link between the dean and the departments and the institute, no? So very administrative, no? So we are in charge of the admission process, registration, record keeping, monitoring, and evaluation and other functions. So very quickly lang, I'd like to introduce also our staff here. Napakalaki naming staff. Tatlo lang kami. No? So, but also, so that you're familiar, if you are a graduate student, you'll be familiar with these people, no? Our AO, si Miss Hadasa, Meredith Malakas, and also our um, student record evaluator is si Miss Melanie Taganayon. So basically, these are the people that are working behind the Office of Graduate Program. So I will stop share kasi I will now introduce to you yung partner ng aming office, no? In providing you seminars and workshops such as this. So basically, our aim is basically to equip you with more skills, no, to refresh you with certain knowledge about different things that you can use in your graduate studies. So the editor for the PSSR is Dr. Mitch Ong. So I would like to ask Dr. Mitch Ong to open her video and also tell us more about PSSR.
Thank you, Dr. Parcon. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. My name is Mitch. You can call me Mitch. I am very pleased to see so many people excited about and interested in qualitative research reporting standards that maybe speaks to your interest in doing qualitative research, but also possibly in consuming, looking at work by others done in using this methodology. So napakahalaga that we learn more about how we can best report qualitative research, what we should look for, and how we can evaluate good quality qualitative research. So kami po sa PSSR, ang Philippine Social Sciences Review, which is the CSSP's official journal, ay tumatanggap po ng mga submissions for students' work. So qualitative research man yan o iba pang methodology, we're very open to that. No? We accept also policy-related papers, philosophical treaties, mga book reviews, no? So things like that. You can check out our website, which our speaker, Dr. Sam Mendez, will also share with you later. And what we really hope to do is with this series of workshops or seminars is to help people gather the courage and the skills necessary to publish and disseminate their work. No? Napakahalagang bahagi po yan ng ating commitment as academics. So hindi ko na po patatagalin. Alam ko excited na kayo na marinig ano ba itong quality standards for reporting for qualitative research. I will be introducing our speaker today. So our speaker is Dr. Sam Mendez or Dr. Samantha Mendez. She is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at UP Diliman. She holds a doctoral degree in psychology with a major in developmental psychology and a minor in clinical psych, and a master's degree in special education. She is the associate editor of the Philippine Social Sciences Review and the panel chair of the CSSP Ethics Review Board, Panel 4. Her primary research interests include meaning in life, well-being, women's issues, and singlehood across the lifespan. She's also a registered developmental psychologist and a licensed teacher. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Sam Mendez.
Yes, let's all welcome Dr. Sam Mendez by sending our reaction signs na clap. Ayan. So I see a lot of people welcome you, Dr. Sam. But also, before you proceed, of course, we don't want to miss this being recorded. So I'd just like to ask our participants, is it okay for us to record this one? We just need to see your thumbs up.
Yes.
Yan. Ayan. Para naman, just in case somebody would also ask us for a file of this, we can give this. Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up already, so I will be recording this one. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Sam.
Okay, magandang gabi po or magandang hapon, almost gabi to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Parcon, and thank you, Dr. Ong. Maraming salamat din sa inyo for choosing to spend your for choosing to spend your Friday night with us. I would also like to thank those who initially sent their questions. I put my best effort in preparing this presentation to address many of the questions that were there. Pero there were also questions that were asked na this presentation will not be able to address, particularly those that involve the nitty-gritty of the research process, like how to conceptualize a qualitative research problem, an elaboration of the different qualitative approaches, how to code or extract themes, and the different analytic strategies. So pasensya na po, hindi po siya kasali ng scope ng ating pag-uusapan tonight. Um, so, um, just to set expectations for this evening, please allow me to share our learning goals or what will be the scope of our discussion ngayong gabi. So unang-una, how do we establish quality in qualitative research, especially since the interest in qualitative research is increasing, particularly in the social sciences and specifically in psychology also. Tapos, what are reporting standards and reporting guidelines and bakit sila important? Lalo na for graduate students, for academics, for faculty, bakit siya important na alam natin ng mga ito and sino-sino ang maaring gumamit ng mga standards na ito. And how should these standards or guidelines be used and what do they look like in actual practice? So, ayan. So, I hope it's clear with everyone kung ano yung magiging content ng ating pag-uusapan tonight. So, ito yung mga yon. And then, after the session, you will try to revisit our goals kung na-hit ba natin ang mga ito. Okay. Ayan. So the first one is how do we establish quality in qualitative research? So yung mga nagtuturo ng field methods or qualitative research, whether undergrad or grad, are probably very familiar with this already. Yung 8 Big Ten criteria for qualitative research. So may 8 tayong pagbabasihan or criteria for saying na, oh, this is how we establish quality in qualitative research. Una, the worthiness of the topic. Is it relevant? Is it timely? Is it significant and interesting? And does it have social value? Pangalawa is the rich rigor. So, is there enough data to support your claims? And are the samples and the procedures appropriate to your research question? So, that's the second quality marker. The third one is sincerity. Is my reporting of the research process honest and transparent? And is it done through reflexivity, audit trail, or documentation of your research decision-making, negotiations, challenges, and changes that happened throughout your implementation of your research project. So, yon, parang klaro ba at transparent yung ating paglatag ng mga nangyari while we were doing the research. The fourth one is credibility. So, this is how we parang I'm always asked by students, especially when they transition from experimental psych to qualitative psych, parang, ma'am, how do we establish validity and reliability? So we can think of, parang hindi tayo masyadong nagfo-focus doon when we talk about qualitative research. Instead, we're looking at the credibility. So are we using thick descriptions of our data? Are we contextualizing our data enough for the reader to really have a sense of what is going on in the participants' broader social-cultural context and even time context that will allow us to understand how the data was interpreted and why it was interpreted that way within this particular zeitgeist, yung mga ganon. And then depending also on the kind of qualitative methodology that you're using, did you use crystallization, triangulation, auditing? So there are different ways to establish the credibility of our qualitative study. Para siyang valid po itong study namin kasi may pinagbabasihan po yung claims namin. We did not just pick them out of thin air. It's really rooted on the data. And then the fifth one, this is resonance. So resonance is the aesthetic merit. Is it situated or applicable or transferable to various contexts and situations? And can the reader relate or at least vicariously experience what is being discussed? So that's what we mean by resonance. Does it resonate with the readers, with the participants? And then the sixth one is significance. So does it add value? So there are different kinds of significance. Merong theoretical significance, nakaka-enrich ba siya sa teorya? Heuristic significance, practical significance, and even methodological significance. And the seventh one, does it have meaningful coherence? So, has the research achieved its stated purpose? And is the design and all the other methodological decisions aligned with your stated paradigm, theoretical framework, yung research goals, the literature, nagme-make sense ba silang lahat? So this is what we mean by meaningful coherence. From your research question up until the conclusion, swak ba sila? Are they aligned? Or parang medyo nagmi-mix match ba sila? Medyo halo-halo. In Bisaya, we call it saksak sinagol. Parang ganun ba yung nagaganap? Or does it make sense? And then the last one, of course, it has to be ethical. So, ayan. So tonight, we endeavor to see how these criteria are translated into our manuscripts when we want to submit them for publication. Because ultimately, parang yung isa sa mga goals namin sa PSSR and OJP, why we do these, why we do these talks is para ma-encourage talaga and ma-empower, um, ma mainganyo yung mga graduate students and yung mga recent graduates na mag-submit ng kanilang mga manuscripts. Okay. Okay. So now we ask the question, what are qualitative journal article reporting standards? So ito yung point, ito yung main content of the talk. It's a set of criteria para sa mga authors to think about and consider when they're preparing their manuscripts with a goal of communicating their research and how they did it in a clear and persuasive way. So without this, there is a possibility that the authors may suffer from conflicting manuscript expectations. I don't know if you've experienced this, but you submit a big Q qualitative research manuscript, tapos may mga nabigay na comments, yung mga reviewers na medyo hindi ganun kaakma doon sa parang theoretical or methodological approach na pinili mo. So, yon, kaya we want to be more knowledgeable about these reporting standards para alam din natin kung paano natin sasagutin yung mga reviewers na yon and paano din natin masulat ng maayos yung mga manuscripts natin. Hindi lang authors but also journal reviewers and editors could also benefit from knowing reporting standards to fairly, adequately, and appropriately evaluate qualitative research on its own merits in a writing and publication system that was originally developed for quanti-positivist and post-positivist research. So, yun. Yung mga reporting standards, they help us answer the question, okay, what information should be written in a journal to allow for adequate evaluation? So, as qualitative researchers, having quality markers is absolutely necessary para magkaroon tayo ng comprehensive and transparent reporting of our research. Particularly because sobrang dami ng mga qualitative methods and methodologies with varied philosophical frameworks. So sobrang dami niya and we need to know ano ba yung mga necessary, mga bare minimum quality markers that we should adhere to and information that we should include para ma-evaluate ng husto at maayos and akma doon sa approach na pinili natin. So, ayan. Who can utilize these standards? So, authors, journal reviewers, and journal editors, tsaka yung mga researchers in general and yung mga students who are into qualitative research in particular. So either as authors or as reviewers, we want to evaluate the project or the work on its own merits and using criteria that are appropriate for it and not only based on the standards that we're familiar with. Kasi admittedly, tao lang din naman tayo, no? As much as we want to really broaden our knowledge, maging eksperto sa qualitative, pati na sa quantitative, parang there's just so much knowledge to learn. And so we have our favorites. Tapos, just because we receive a journal article na medyo same but not exactly following yung favorite natin na approach, hindi pwedeng ipilit natin yung approach na familiar tayo. Dapat hanapan natin ng way na ma-evaluate natin siya using the approach na ginamit din ng mga researchers. So, maybe some of you have experienced being on the giving or the receiving end of certain reviewer comments that don't seem to fit your research. So, yon, parang gusto nating mas maging mindful tayo doon, mas maging knowledgeable tayo doon para as writers, we can also write accordingly. And as reviewers, pwede din tayong maka-evaluate appropriately. So, yon. And why should we have separate set of reporting standards specific for quality research? Well, because of the inherent differences in the reporting of qualitative and quantitative research. Alam naman natin na iba yung pinanggagalingan ng quanti versus ng quali. Iba din yung mga goals and assumptions ng quanti tsaka quali. So, gusto nating ma-appreciate natin yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa instead of parang pitting them against each other because in order to advance or further our science, our social science, kailangan natin yung dalawa. And we need to be able to evaluate one kind of research using standards for this kind of research and hindi yung sa isa. So, unang-una, yung writing style, the reporting style, and even the formatting can be very different between quanti and qualitative research. So, ang language din, magkaiba din yung language ng quali tsaka quanti. Lalong-lalo na din yung length ng articles. So, usually qualitative research, lalo na yung mga big Q qualitative projects, they need more space compared sa quanti na mas medyo shorter. So, ayan. And then, it values contextualization a lot. So we really need to spend time to situate our research para mas may appreciation doon sa results or sa analysis. And then there's also transparency. So reflexivity plays a very big role in qualitative research. Pero hindi lang naman siya limited to reflexivity only. There are other ways we can express transparency, pero reflexivity is one of the most commonly used. Okay. So yan, so if a piece of research is to be evaluated, it needs to be evaluated on its own terms. So sabi yun ni Finlay. What is the issue now with having a one-size-fits-all reporting standards? So kanina na-establish natin na dapat magkaiba yung standards ng quanti tsaka quali kasi magkaiba yung kanilang epistemological, ontological assumptions. So yung quali ba dapat merong isa lang for all? So parang we appreciate the fact that there are movements and efforts to try to come up with quality research specific standards, but we also acknowledge na even in qualitative research, sobrang varied, sobrang diverse din yung mga iba't ibang klaseng qualitative approaches, di ba? And this is the caveat with having a one-size-fits-all quality marker or parang insisting on having a checklist na ito para sa quality, ito na checklist, ito sa quanti. Kasi kahit na specific siya to quali, baka it's not specific enough for the specific big Q approach that you're using. So, ayan. Parang parang we risk reducing qualitative research into just a list of technical procedures and then may checklist ka. Tapos, sometimes we conflate reporting quality with study quality na, the more boxes I tick in this checklist, the higher the quality of my research, but it doesn't necessarily follow all the time. Parang you can have good reporting of your paper, pero hindi pala ganun kaayos yung pagka-implement ng project na yon. And then, it can also produce methodological incongruence. So, ano ba to? Yung elements of the research from the micro to the macro are not aligned. So, dahil gusto nating ma-tick off yung mga items in the checklist, we run the risk of doing something that does not necessarily make sense methodologically. So, di ba kanina dun sa Big Tent criteria, yung meaningful coherence is one of the key markers. So, yun, we run the risk of incongruence if we very rigidly follow a one-size-fits-all reporting standard for qualitative research. Yun. So, paano na nga ba? Parang we're saying na, okay, we need to have a separate quality markers for qualitative research. And now you're telling us na hindi pa rin enough yon kasi hindi dapat natin ilalagay sa isang one size fits all na standards yung lahat ng sobrang daming quali approaches. Oo. So parang it's really challenging. It's really challenging kasi there are so many. There are so many qualitative approaches, and each big Q approach, sometimes they have their own specific quali markers pa. So, how do we strike a compromise? Especially because many journals have recommended formatting, and then yung mukha ng formatting nila, mas medyo post-positivist yung dating. So, paano natin to ibabalance? So, that is what we endeavor or what we hope we could try to share with you tonight. So yon, I'm planning to talk about two reporting standards or guidelines. So it's the APA's JAR Squal or the Journal Article Reporting Standards for Qualitative Research. And the BQQRGs. It's a mouthful, di ba? Parang BQQRG, the Big Q Qualitative Reporting Guidelines. So the JAR Squall was developed by APA. So they're mostly American psychologists. It's more structured. It follows the APA style format na may intro, method, findings, results, and discussion. And also, itong JARS, meron ding JARS for qualitative meta-analysis and JARS for mixed methods article reporting. Pero tonight, yung ating pag-uusapan lang ay yung primary qualitative research. Yung BQQRG naman, this was more recently developed by Brown and Clark. So mas ano siya, it's less structured compared to JAR Squall, and it is guided by two quality principles. So this is methodological congruence and reflexive openness. So methodological congruence or integrity, ito yung pag-i-ensure that the researcher's chosen methodology, the philosophical perspective, and the different methodological decisions are aligned, consistent, and logically fit. Yung reflexive openness naman refers to transparency. So it involves sustained critical reflection on the research process and the decisions throughout the research process. So we invoke one's ethical sensibilities and bring forthright in our thought processes that shape the research. So parang yon. Ang pag-present ko ngayon, so itong BQQRG, it's more flexible and it puts more responsibility on the authors, on the reviewers, and the editors' knowledge on the quality values and principles of qualitative research. So I'll be presenting the structure of the JAR Squall. Kasi naisip ko, okay ito because most or many journals still require this kind of reporting and this structure of reporting. So we will use the JAR Squall, but I'll also be sharing insights from the BQQRG. Ayan. So I believe that both kasi is useful in guiding how we write our qualitative research for publication. Kasi maraming journals ang nagpo-follow pa rin ito. So, hopefully din, yung mga pag-uusapan natin tonight are potentially helpful, especially when the mythical and notorious reviewer 2 starts asking you to provide proof for post-positivistic quality markers. So, sana makatulong, and I highly encourage, especially those who are doing big Q qualitative research, to check out these resources, yung kay Levitt et al. And kay Brown and Clark, kasi sobrang helpful niya. Okay. So let's start with the preliminaries. Ayan. So in terms of writing style, iba yung writing style ng quanti versus quali. And then the terminology also, the title, the abstract, and the keyword. So for the writing style, we need to ensure that the researcher is written in. So rather than out of the methodological account. So what does this mean? Usually first person point of view yung gagamitin sa writing style, and it's reflective, subjective, personalized, humanized, very contextualized, sometimes passionate, lively, evocative, and compelling. So yon. And then yung terminology, we define the chosen term that we use in our research, and then we also explain the choice. Because sometimes our quali studies involve using, or parang may mga contentious na mga concepts or definitions of a certain term. So you will have to declare ano bang definition ng word na ginagamit mo or ng concept na ito at paano mo siya ginagamit sa study mo. And the title, you have to ensure that the title captures the topic area and or the central storyline of the analysis. Kung pwede, and wherever relevant, also the methodology that you're using. And then it helps to also use 1 to 2 keywords in the title. For the abstract, we summarize the key points of the article, and sa abstract pa lang, i-contextualize na natin siya in terms of space and time. So saan, anong era nangyari ang study na ito para on the onset, magigets na ng readers what the gist is about. And isang no-no that Brown and Clark mentioned in terms of writing the abstract is to segment it by sections, which is very post-positivistic or positivistic. Yung may sa abstract pa lang may research question, methodology, so hindi ganon. So just like a narrative. We use that one for quali. And then we also consider using at least one keyword that describes the method and one that describes the participants or the phenomenon that we are exploring or investigating. Okay, so let's move on to the introduction section. So in the introduction section, so nabanggit ko kanina, 'di ba, na yung jar squall medyo may structure in that may introduction, ganyan. Pero sina Brown and Clark, they highlight the author's flexibility in terms of how they will sequence the different elements of their manuscript, so that it doesn't have to really follow a prescribed sequence, as long as it helps them tell their story, the story of their research, in the best possible way. But of course, magkaka-issue tayo if we really stick with this, magkaka-issue tayo minsan dun sa mga journals that have prescribed format. So kailangan din natin na we need to choose our battles. Parang we want to really be very big Q about how we evaluate the quality of our research and how we report it. But at the same time, we also need to consider ano ba yung mga non-negotiables and ano ba yung open to compromise. Because if you want to publish your paper in certain journals that have specific formats, we might need to adhere to these formatting. So yun lang, kailangan talaga i-balance. Okay, so what should we include in the introduction? So the background and the rationale. We need to provide robust context and rationale for the proposed research. And then we need to engage with existing literature, especially qualitative research. If you're doing a big Q approach, by the way, what is big Q, small Q? Kasi big Q ako kanina pa, baka hindi clear sa lahat. Yung big Q approach, these are the qualitative methodologies like yung IPA or the interpretative phenomenological analysis, reflexive thematic analysis, discourse analysis, grounded theory. So yun yung mga merong theoretical, philosophical assumptions and framework. Tapos yung small Q, qualitative, ito yung mga usually they are post-positivistic using qualitative methods like interviews, surveys, pero kina-quantify pa rin yung data. So yun lang, just to clarify. So going back, ayun na nga, sa Big Q, kailangan talagang ma-discuss yung mga qualitative din na literature. So we can either review, critique, or synthesize available literature to identify key issues or debates or yung mga gaps in the literature. And then we need to situate it as part of the contextualization. We need to situate the research in the bigger context. And then we also need to situate other knowledge as partial and produced from different perspectives, especially if magagamit din tayo ng quantitative na literature. Ayan. And then, in the introduction, we need to also include our research question or our research aims and our purpose. So, we need to articulate clearly and demonstrate methodological congruence between the questions and our overall approach. So, it's very important that we have a clear research question kasi it will serve as the anchor na magiging basis ng mga methodological decisions natin later on, 'di ba? So kailangan klaro siya and kailangan in the writing magiging clear din kung paano siya aligned doon sa literature, doon sa research design, ganyan. And then parang when we write our research question, parang we try to avoid, especially if big Q, yung study, we try to avoid formulating the research question as hypotheses or expectations about what might be found. Or parang imply na merong relationship, yung mga factors or variables that you're studying because hindi naman yun yung goal. And then, kaya pala yan, yung picture na ginamit ko is to highlight yung salami slicing. Salami slicing is the practice of splitting our data set and yeah, usually sa quanti siya, pero often it gets deployed unjustly against qualitative research. So yun, na-experience ko ito when I submitted one of my papers. Sinabi ko, this is part of a bigger data set. 5 themes yung na-obtain ko sa data set na yon, but I'm only presenting the 2 themes, ganyan-ganyan. And then the reviewer was like, isn't this salami slicing? So we need to, parang as authors, we need to be able to maybe provide an explanation na hindi po kasi it's normal or typical for qualitative projects to be really split, pero dapat klaro na iba yung focus ng paper na ito at iba din yung focus ng pangalawa or pangatlo mong paper. So, for editors also and reviewers, it's also good to be mindful na it's common for qualitative researchers to divide the results into a couple of articles with distinct focus. So dapat klaro na magkaiba talaga yung focus ng iba't ibang papel na sinusulat ninyo because of the richness of the data. Tapos, if we insist on putting all the themes together kasi, baka it might risk watering down the analysis and the discussion kung ipipilit mo yung lahat. Kasi, for example, when you write your thesis or your dissertation, book kasi siya eh. So you're free to write as much as you want. Pero sa journals, it's limited to the number of pages or number of words. So kailangan talaga hindi maiwasan minsan na i-separate. So kailangan lang clear ano yung focus nila. Okay. Um, it's also important in the introduction to demonstrate that you own your perspective. So we need, so what does this mean? Usually dito natin dinidiscuss yung researcher reflexivity. Although sina Brown and Clark would argue na walang specific space or place for us to put our reflexivity na dapat nasa introduction or dapat nasa methodology siya or dapat nandun siya sa conclusion. So again, um, Brown and Clark puts a lot of responsibility on the researcher to make their own judgment call in terms of saan pinaka makakatulong for you as the researcher to write a compelling narrative of what you did in your research. So if it's in the introduction, you demonstrate critical reflexivity here. Na you constantly think about your role as the researcher and how you are shaping each step of the research process, even in the conceptualization of the paper, in the choice of your research design, then later on in your analysis. So, paano ka nakaka-shape nung interpretation and basically the results. So, nakakatulong din dito yung paggamit ng first-person point of view. And then, ano yung mga no-no? Ang no-no in the introduction is framing research bias and research influence as contamination or possible threat to objectivity. And also, framing this as a possibility instead of an inevitability. Kasi in qualitative research, big Q, we really acknowledge that there is researcher influence. It's not a matter of if, but how. How does the researcher influence the study? And for us to be able to communicate that and to be able to write it out. Tapos, another no-no, particularly for the editors and the reviewers, this is to require authors to disclose personal information that could be discrediting, especially if it could be discrediting or stigmatizing. So, while it's important, it's an important part of reflexivity to disclose, we don't need to make it into a journal, a diary na this is who I am. Parang we don't need to indulge ourselves too much also in disclosing. We just need to disclose enough for the researcher to understand where we're coming from and how our backgrounds, our positionality as researchers shape the the research. Pero hindi natin kailangan i-disclose lahat, especially if we're not comfortable doing so. And if you're a reviewer or an editor, hindi din dapat natin nire-require yung mga authors. Only to the extent that you feel it's necessary for the reader to know para maintindihan niya yung madideepen yung understanding and appreciation niya doon sa gawa mong work and kung paano naka-influence yung background mo doon. Okay. And the last no-no is writing the researcher out. So kailangan makita mo talaga yung researcher dito sa introduction. So this is what we mean by owning your perspective. Okay. We now move on to the next part. In the jar squall, they called it method. Pero sa BQQRG, they would say, okay, it's better to use methodology. It's their preferred term because it kind of captures the theoretical embeddedness. So ano dapat ang content ng methodology? So we need to describe clearly and also justify the data, the research design, the data collection strategies, the data analytic strategies, and the different approaches na ginamit natin. And in the spirit of methodological congruence, we need to also write it in a way that shows that it makes sense. It's aligned. Our research question, the research design, the data collection, data analysis, they all make sense. And akma sila, appropriate sila sa each other para makaka-contribute siya doon sa methodological congruence. For study participants or data sources, iyon, pwede din dito, kung hindi pa natin nasulat sa introduction ang reflexivity ng researcher, pwede siya dito. So, researcher description. And then participant description or data sources. If we're not using participants, data sources. Describe the characteristics of the data sources, the participants, tapos situate the participant group versus participant anonymity. I think na-bring up ito sa one of the questions in the registration na parang how do we balance. I'm afraid I cannot give like a specific answer to that, but it's important. It's important that we balance situating the participant description with their anonymity. So we need to really de-identify, use pseudonyms, and then we need to redact mga identifiers. So, yung mga proper nouns that refer to places, people, kailangan natin yon tanggalin. So, and it's important as researchers that we are able to really be able to strike that balance. Okay. And if meron mang researcher-participant relationship, we need to also disclose that here, describe that here, and also maybe describe how that might influence the data or the research process actually, and yung ethicality ng researcher-participant relationship kung meron man. Kung wala, pwede din siyang sabihin na wala silang prior or current relationship. And then we also need to describe the recruitment process. Was it face-to-face, email, phone? Ano yung recruitment protocol? Nag-post ba ng PubMats in mga Facebook groups or whatever, social media? Nagbigay ba ng incentives or compensation? Was there ethics approval? What is the informed consent process? Were there pseudonyms that were used? What was the choice for choosing that kind of pseudonym? And sa participant selection, ano yung sampling design, ano yung general context of the study, so when the data was collected, the site of the data collection, so that should all be part of the methodology. Tapos, so sa JAR Squall, they called it data collection. Data generation naman yung preferred term ng BQQRG. Because it captures the active role of the researcher and acknowledges that the data does not pre-exist. It becomes data through the research. So kaya data generation yung preferred term ng BQQRG. So here we describe and explain the practices of inquiry or the data sources that were chosen. Ano yung modality ng pag-collect ng data? Was it face-to-face, call, video call? Tapos why? And if maraming authors, sino yung author na nag-collect sa data, ano yung characteristics niya, ano yung credibility niya, ganyan. So, i-describe din anong training na na-undergo niya. Tapos, paano na-develop yung tool? So, if this is an interview guide, an FGD guide, may pilot testing ba? Did it change throughout the research process? After the pilot testing, yon. Ano yung mga no-nos? We don't assume that quantity is equal to quality. So we know that in qualitative research, we use information power and other basis for determining the number of participants or the number of data items. So we don't assume na the more, the better. Kasi it's not necessarily the case. We look at quality, how rich is the data. And then we also try to avoid describing our methodology section very clearly, very transparent, with the aim of replication and standardization. Hindi ito yung aim ng Big Q, particularly research. So we want to be transparent and be very clear about how we did our study to demonstrate transparency. So as one of the quality markers of Big Q research, and not necessarily so that it can be replicated, which comes from another perspective, more quanti siya. Okay. ano pa ba? Kailangan din nating i-describe yung mga skills and experience that the researchers are bringing into the data generation. Especially if maraming authors. Tapos, how was the data recorded or transformed? So, may audio-visual recording ba? Ano yung field notes? Paano ginawa yung transcribing of the interviews? We need to describe how the data was prepared for analysis, the transcription process. So, nandyan siya lahat sa methodology. Okay, we're not yet done with methodology. Medyo mahaba yung methodology. Kasi nga, we want to demonstrate transparency. Okay. We will also describe the data analytics strategy, so detail the steps, the procedures, and then demonstrate the alignment in the methods or the procedures with our research purpose. Again, when we write, we always have that thought maybe lingering in our heads. Okay, does it make sense? Are all of these strategies aligned with each other? Does it contribute to meaningful coherence? So, yon. Tapos kung may mga coders, may mga analysts, kung iba pa sila dun sa nag-collect ng data, we also need to describe their training. Tapos, we also need to highlight the fact that having only one coder or analyst in big Q studies does not necessarily present with a threat or doesn't present as a validity threat to the research. So, ano yung no-no? Magkaroon tayo ng inter-rater or inter-coder agreement kasi hindi natin tinatry na i-establish na etong analysis and interpretation na to, eto na talaga yon, and this is the only analysis because that kind of does not fit very well with the big Q assumption na subjectivity. So, yon. And then another no-no is not situating the established methodology and or generic descriptions of the procedure. So let's just say, sinabi mo, we analyze the data using IPA, and then that's it. You did not bother to elaborate kung ano ba yung steps ng IPA, or we're using Brown and Clark's reflexive thematic analysis, and then that's it. Because, people should know Brown and Clark's RTA. So parang brand name yan. So dapat alam. Pero hindi. Kailangan pa rin natin i-outline kung paano nga ba natin ginawa yung RTA na yon, or paano nga ba natin ginawa yung IPA na yan. So, yon. So I think this is important for reviewers and editors to also consider na yung one coder or analyst is usual and appropriate in Big Q and doesn't necessarily present validity threat to research, and that the use of qualitative data analytic softwares is not necessarily a requirement. So hindi kailangan gumamit ka ng Atlas or NVivo, hindi mo kailangan hanapin yun if hindi naman siya akma doon sa method and methodology na pinili ng researcher. Okay. So included din sa methodology yung quality practices or methodological integrity. So like I said kanina, there are some big Q approaches that have specific quality practices. So yung sa IPA, at sorry, laging IPA yung example ko, yun kasi yung familiar ako. So, di ba meron na ito, meron yung Big Tent ni Tracy, tapos meron din itong mga reporting standards, pero IPA also has specific quality markers. I think RTA also has. So kung hindi ito yung dalawa yung ginamit yung methodology, you could try to look at usually yung mga developers of the approach, they have their own or they probably developed their own quality marker. So you could look at that, and then you could look at mga exemplar papers na kinonsider ng mga scholars who developed the approach as okay to. So basahin niyo. Tapos paano nila sinulat yon at ano yung mga quality markers. Ayan. And these are some But they're not limited to these. Mga quality practices, member reflection, crystallization, other researchers serving as critical sounding board to enhance reflexivity. So talking with peers who are also knowledgeable in your approach can be helpful. Reflexive journaling. So iba-iba. And then there are also specific approaches depending on the big Q approach that you choose. So it's helpful to look for these if you are not yet aware of the specific quality markers of the big Q approach that you're using. Ayan. Okay. Ayan na. Nandito na tayo sa findings or results sa jar squall. And then sina Brown and Clark, they prefer using the term analysis because it connotes the presence of contestable interpretations. Yung findings daw kasi, it infers that research is found or that it's pre-existing. So parang iba yung epistemological assumption ng research or like knowledge is found as opposed to knowledge is co-constructed, ganyan. And then results, it also is strongly associated with statistical analysis. That's why Brown and Clark prefers the term analysis to refer to findings and results. But like I said, many journals use findings and results. So, kailangan din nating mag-compromise dito na, sige, eto na muna yung gagamitin natin para if we really want our study to be published by that journal na nag-require na ito yung format. Okay, so what information should we include in the findings or results? So, we need to report clear analytic structure and an appropriate number of patterns or themes, discourses, depending on the length of the article. Meaning, hindi natin masyadong damihan yung mga themes. Parang dapat akma lang din siya dun sa length ng papel na sinusulat natin para we have enough space to really discuss it and to show that it is based or grounded on the data to increase its credibility. We also need to discuss the conceptualization of the themes, the categories, and we need to ensure that how it was conceptualized is congruent with the approach. So if it helps, we can include an analytic map or a table to show the main themes and the sub-themes. Ako yung preference ko, isusulat ko lang siya, pero ilang beses na din ako nahingan ng table dun sa mga journals na nasubmitan ko. And then they would say, it's clearer if there's a table and if you introduce the themes, you describe it, and then you talk about it rather than putting it dun sa summary, sa end, parang wrapping it up. So, syempre, it's really a challenge kasi there's also a word limit and you want to stick to the word limit, but you also want to make sure na klaro at specific and comprehensive din yung pag-discuss mo nung bawat theme and sub-themes. So, yon. So whenever we write something there, we make sure that we also discuss it appropriately. Tapos, okay. So sa analytic depth, we need to provide an analytic narrative around the data extracts that explains the meaning and the significance of the data and the researcher's interpretation of them. So we need to always assume that the data does not speak for itself. So kailangan natin lagyan ng parang konteksto yung kung ano man yung isusulat natin doon. Kasi maybe to us, because we're so babad na in the data, it makes sense to us. But if there's someone else reading it, parang, ano to? Ano to sinusulat niya? Hindi niya gets kasi hindi niya narinig yung recordings or wala siya dun sa interview or hindi niya nabasa sa transcript. So, kailangan nating lagyan ng parang konting explanation. For example, when the participant was asked about what makes their lives meaningful, ito yung sinabi nila, blah, 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 blah. Parang lagyan ng konteksto lagi yung mga sinasabi natin. And then, of course, one of the ways that we can establish credibility is by using data extracts to ground our claims na we did not just pull this out of thin air, pero actually, nanggaling siya sa mga actual utterances ng aming participants. So, it shows congruence between our data extract and the analytic narrative. And ang pinaka-importante na point dito is kailangan talaga siyang i-anonymize. So, medyo tricky ito, especially if the data is available online. Like for example, kumuha kayo ng mga blogs or mga posts sa social media na public. Tapos, kasi madali lang yun eh. If you put it there as is, you can copy paste it, and sometimes it could lead to the actual Facebook or Twitter post nung poster or yung blog post niya. So that is something that we want to make sure hindi siya traceable to the person na nag-post nun. So we need to anonymize. So this could be tricky, but there is a way to do that. Yon. And these data extracts, they can be illustrative or they can also be analytical. So yung illustrative, parang pwede nilang, parang dinidemonstrate nila kung ano yung ibig mong sabihin. And then yung analytical, parang nagigets na parang paano ba? Usually sa approaches ito na parang mga discourse analysis na mas more, parang fewer yung data extract, and then there's more analytic narrative on the part of the researcher na sinusulat. And we also need to integrate the analysis with existing research and theory. So we draw on existing research and theory to contextualize our analysis and to also potentially deepen the interpretation. So ano yung mga no-no na sinabi nila Brown and Clark? So as much as possible, we don't separate data results and the interpretation. So parang ano siya, integrated sila. Pero tricky din ito because some journals also want to have specific results na section and then a discussion section. So again, depending na lang din ito sa format or guidelines ng journal. So as much as possible, we want sana to go somewhere na may integration yung results and discussion or interpretation. And then we also want to avoid giving a summary rather than interpretation of the data. So we're not just rephrasing what the participant said, but we also want to really enrich or palalimin yung discussion nung analysis. So we want to analyze, not just summarize the data. So notes for reviewers and editors, it's usual and typical in big Q approaches to integrate the literature review into the analysis. And yung literature that's discussed in the analysis does not have to be limited to the ones that are mentioned in the lit review section, in the introduction. So, yon. Okay. Sige. So we're almost there. Nasa discussion na tayo, and discussion ang tawag sa JAR Squall, conclusion ang tawag doon sa BQQRG. So ano ba yung kailangan nating i-include na information sa section na ito? Okay, unang-una, we need to avoid repeating what we talked about in the results section or in the prior section. Kung nasabi na natin siya doon, wag na natin siyang ulitin dito. We need to interpret it or kasi parang itong jar squall medyo naka-separate siya, 'di ba? So dito natin i-interpret, dito natin i-discuss. And then analytic conclusions and contribution. So we tell an overall analytic story or draw an overall conclusion instead of repeating what patterns we found earlier. And then sa study evaluation or reflection, we give an overall reflexive consideration of the context, process, outcomes, and potential research consequences of the research. Dito, pwede din nating ilagay yung researcher reflexivity in the discussion section. If hindi pa natin siya na-discuss sa intro or sa method, pwede siyang ilagay din dito because mas flexible nga itong si Brown and Clark in terms of where it should be put. So it's the researcher's judgment call kung saan mas makakatulong sa kanya in telling the story yung paglagay niya ng reflexivity. What is a no-no? So we know that hindi naman goal ng Big Q research yung generalizability. And it's a no-no to say na, oh, the results of this study is not generalizable. And that's its weakness. So, hindi daw. And then, we also want to avoid identifying researcher bias or influence as a limitation because it's an inevitable part of qualitative research. We just need to be able to discuss how researcher influence shaped this research and acknowledge that. And then researcher reflexivity if hindi pa siya nabanggit sa other parts. And then lastly, yung implications for future research. How can, parang based on this study, paano pa mas mapalawak or mapalalim yung research in this particular topic. And then, what are the implications for policy? What are the implications for practice wherever it is relevant? So, ayan. Okay. So yun. So I hope that yung sharing na ito nakatulong siya in identifying what kind of information should be included in our reporting of our research in order to make it parang in order to adequately evaluate the research. So, ito yung mga yon. Sa different parts, there are things that we need to disclose. But I guess yung point is that whenever we write it, we need to be very intentional. Unang-una, because there's a page limit or a number of words na limit. And we need to demonstrate that it makes sense, that it's coherent, the research decisions are aligned, and they are anchored on our research question. Okay, and I think this is where I'll end. And I now open the floor to questions. So, meron bang mga tanong?
Wow,
Hi,
thank
Doc
you.
Sam.
Okay, I think I will stop share.
Yes.
Ayan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc Sam. So, bago tayo pumunta sa question and answer, sisingit lang ko ng konti, Doc Mitch, no? Para magkaroon muna tayo ng hindi ko pwedeng masabing picture taking kasi wala naman kayong hindi ko naman nakikita. Basically, it's just screen. Siguro mag-screenshot lang ako of everybody who's here. So if your internet would allow you, please do open your video so that we can see you as I do my screenshots. And of course, please do not leave kasi napaka-importante nito, lalong-lalo na, for example, yung mga questions, some things that are bothering you, di ba? So, I hope that you stay so that we can answer some of those questions. Okay. Sige, for those, yan. Di ba? It's so nice to see everyone here. Okay, so count ako ng 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before still waiting for others to open. So 5, 4, 3, 2, okay, 1. So there will be 3 batches. So 1, 2, 3. Smile, everyone. Okay, second one. 1, 2, 3. And the last page. 1, 2, 3. All right. Giving it back to Doc Mitch to help us moderate the question
Thank
and answer.
you. Thank you, Dr. Parcon. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam, for this very interesting and very important, I think, explication of the importance of quality standards for reporting qualitative research. I would like to invite people to post their questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Kaya ba nilang mag-type sa chat, or is it only dun sa Q&A box? Or, pwede ring option is to raise your hand so that you can deliver your question live. Sa FB din, yung mga nanonood or nakikinig sa atin sa FB, pwede pong sa FB magbigay ng questions and then we'll do our best to answer them also live. But before that, no, while we're waiting for people to give us their questions, actually may isa na akong nakita sa Q&A box. Gusto ko lang sabihin na sobrang importante, I think, yung insight na binigay ni Doc Sam na there are quality standards for doing qualitative research, no? Meron tayong sinusundan na dapat yon meaningfully coherent, dapat ethical, dapat ganito, ganyan, so et cetera. But when you have finished the project, no, when you have done with the research and you have produced something excellent quality, it's a separate process to translate that output into a manuscript, into something that other people will read and that other people will use for building their own work upon, no? So parang maganda yung insight na kahit na mahusay yung research mo, merong ibang proseso na dadaanan siya para ma-translate natin, ma-communicate natin effectively yung husay, yung kalidad, at yung kahalagahan, no, ng findings natin sa mas malawak na audience. And hopefully, these standards that were explained to us by Doc Sam will help us kind of do that or engage in that process, no, na paano siya i-convert into a manuscript. Doc Sam, may question tayo dito. I think about yung
Yung
pinakaunang tanong
source.
kanina. Oo,
Okay.
is it possible to share the sources
Yes.
later?
Ayan.
Baka may
Ayan
link.
siya. You can
Ayan.
use that. So the first one on the left, that's the jar squall, and then the other one on the right, that's the BQQRG. So that's for what I presented kanina. But like I said, each Big Q approach, it's possible na meron siyang sarili niyang quality markers. Like for IPA, meron. I just forget the title, but it was written by Smith, Niza, and Farr. So, yon. Pinaka-latest yon. Meron silang ginawa years back, pero meron silang bago 2022. And then, si Brown and Clark din, meron silang specific for RTA, reflexive thematic analysis na mga quality markers din. So, yun. But for tonight, yung ginamit ko itong dalawa.
Doc Sam, maganda
Opo.
na itong isang article is open access. So that means easily downloadable. Yung yung jars.
Jars
Yung siya ba?
call.
Jars call. Ano rin ba siya? Open access or is it available on
I
the
am not,
APA website?
yun lang po, hindi ako sure. Sorry.
Aha,
I think
sige.
I access this through our, website. I mean,
Other library
live.
resources, oo. So baka naman, no, check niyo muna sa library ninyo, sa subscriptions ninyo, baka available siya or it's possible the authors might have it available on their
Mm.
own personal websites, and you can always try contacting authors directly, and I'm sure majority of authors will be happy to share their articles for free actually. So do
Yes.
try those avenues, no? Pero definitely itong kina Brown and Clark ay open access. So we have other questions. Meron daw bang separate set of standards for mixed methods research? Kasi sa department daw nila, pinupush yung paggamit ng mixed methods kahit na qualitative naman daw yung kanilang research or yung kanilang interest. So would there be a separate set of standards for mixed methods research?
Yung first article, yung kay Levitt et al., meron din silang ano doon, meron silang table with the criteria for mixed methods and for qualitative meta-analysis. So pwede niyong i-check out din yung etong nasa left. Nandyan siya. Mm-mm. Yes.
Okay. And then another question from Rio Aquino asks,
Mm-hmm.
wala raw nabanggit na specific to the review of lit
Mm.
for qualitative research. Where does that fit in the structure of the guidelines
Mm-mm.
or descriptions given earlier for what to watch out for or where to report certain things?
Yes. Thank you for that, Rio. Nandun siya sa introduction. Kasali doon yung literature review dun sa pag-situate ng phenomenon, sa pag-situate ng participants or data items, data sources. Doon siya. So we engage with the literature either to review it or to critique it. Kasi doon din natin siya makikita yung mga gaps and yung mga debates about the topic that you're studying. Pero doon na siya kasali sa introduction, supposedly.
Thank you, Doc Sam. So another question is about theories. I'm just not too clear about the question. Kung ang question ba na ito refers to parang yung similar to the review of lit, like where do we put the theories and how do we kind of how does it fit, no, in the reporting? Kung ganun ba yung question, or is it a question that specifically asks how do theories or theoretical frameworks influence the methods that we use in qualitative research? So baka see if you can answer maybe the first question kasi it relates specifically to our yung presentation tonight, no,
Mm-hmm.
na saan yung theory ba dun sa lagay ng mga bagay-bagay, and then uh, maybe how do theories uh, shape or influence the methods that we use. So sorry dun sa nagtanong, no, but if I got it incorrect, if I misunderstood, can you please just clarify a bit further in a new parang Q&A in a new item? Thank you.
Okay. So una, yung saan i-situate yung theories doon sa article ay sa pagkaintindi ko, maari siyang ilagay either sa introduction din or doon sa methodology when you're trying to describe your research design and the
Hmm.
rationale. So, ang nakakatuwa dun sa BQQRG ay hindi talaga siya ganun ka very strict about the
Mm-hmm.
structure and the placement of things. Sinabi pa nga niya na even doon sa discussion or sa analysis and sa conclusion, we can include the literature there na hindi nabanggit sa introduction. Um,
Hmm.
pero yun, I guess isang factor to consider din would be the guidelines
Hmm.
sa journal
Sa
kasi
journal,
bawat
right,
oo 'di ba po kasi parang each journal also has their own preferred way of presenting things. So baka nga parang yung isang tip ko for tonight would be to when you decide where you're going to submit your papers, I think it's important to look at the journal website. Um
Hmm.
see see the appropriateness of your study and the goals and the scope of the journal. Tapos tignan nyo rin yung formatting ng journal and if they're open to qualitative research because there are some journals na medyo hindi. So wag na nating ipilit yung ating mga research doon. So how will we know that? Una, dun sa description ng journal, tapos nakakatulong din yung pagtingin ng mga previous articles that have been published in that journal kung meron bang maraming quali or big Q ba yung mga pinpublish nila or small Q or is it mostly mixed methods or mostly quanti. So baka makatulong yon. And then we also follow na lang din their guidelines. But if wala silang guidelines, maaring dun sa intro in setting up the stage for explaining why you're doing what you're doing and why you're doing it in that way. So, if hindi clear kung saan, baka you can be guided by yung methodological congruence na how will I demonstrate or where is the best place I can put this to demonstrate na aligned yung theory
Logical,
mo
no?
dun sa approach mo and dun sa research question mo, ganon.
Right. Thank you, Doc Sam. So,
Thank you
actually,
din.
tumuloy yung question dun sa, yung sagot mo dun sa susunod na question na what is the preferred format of PSSR? Thank you so much for asking.
Baka the EIC can answer
Oo,
that.
sagutin ko na siguro to. So, we have a website that we
Yes.
recently updated. And so, on that website, we have a section na submission
Tara.
guidelines. Oo. So, the submission guidelines will also say
Ayan.
that
There.
uh, we use the APA format, no, generally yung 7th edition. But as editors, we're also not very strict about kailangan ito title nito introduction, ito title nito ano ba methodology, results and discussion, no? So we're also open to a slightly different presentation format if it makes sense for the paper that we receive. So okay lang po. But generally the manuscript format is in the APA style. Okay? Practical question lang. I-share ba natin ang PowerPoint ng ating mga presentations? Thank you daw for the insightful lecture.
Parang available naman itong ano na to, no?
Video, no? The video will remain
yes.
available. Oo.
Yes. So I think you
We
can
will
get it from
upload, I
there.
think, sa YouTube channel
Mm-mm.
ng Department of Psychology. So you
Yes.
can revisit and review the presentation anytime. But if you have more questions actually about the qualitative research standards, we're open to ano naman to questions and you can send us an email pwede naman din. So a couple more questions here. We have maybe time for one more, one or two more. You mentioned that quality is not equivalent to quantity. How many participants should I interview? Sorry, pagsasama-samahin ko na lang, no? There are 3 questions kasi na related in that they're about the how-tos of research, no?
Yes.
So there's a question on how many participants should I get to get quality information? What sampling design can I use to choose the best participant? And then another question, how do we mitigate recall bias and social desirability bias from our participants? And what's the other one? Is it necessary for qualitative research to be anchored on theory? Meron bang qualitative research na theoretical nang walang theory na kailangan? So that's a lot for docs to answer, but
Yeah.
maybe ano lang, try whatever that you can cover.
Okay. So, sige. Teka lang. Okay, una, yung sampling, parang ang hirap magbigay ng specific na answer and I hope you don't feel frustrated. Pero isa ito sa mga features, I guess, ng qualitative research that hindi sa lahat ng oras meron tayong specific na answer. Because a lot of it is yung sagot ay, it depends. And it depends on what? It depends on your research question. It depends on what you're looking for. And baka maging helpful to read about information power.
Yes.
Yeah, baka maging helpful yon. Yun sa nagtanong about, ano na nga ba yun? The sampling. So yeah, maybe it could be more on information power. Um, Qualitative research na walang theory. Hindi siya necessarily, parang ang naisip ko nito ay yung TA, yung thematic analysis na it's not tied to a particular theory or philosophical framework, unlike IPA na meron talagang phenomenology, hermeneutics, and ideography that kind of sets the parameters and the framework of that methodological approach. Pero it doesn't mean na a theoretical yung RTA. It's just that it's flexible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yun yung feature naman ni na Brown and Clark. It's flexible yung RTA, and even the BQQRG is also very flexible. So yan. Do you want to
So
add to that, Ma'am Mitch?
yeah, I think yung answer ni Sam is specific to data analysis, no?
Ay,
Na
yes.
pero yung question niya kasi parang yung qualitative research in general, I think, does it need to anchor on theory? So I think the short answer is yeah. Is it necessary? Yes, oo. Kailangan may theory. It's just that the place of the theory, whether it's the framework or it provides the kind of the main yun anchor, no, for the study, or is theory the output, is theory the final kumbaga direction or goal of the study. And then I think kahit ano pang approach yung gamitin, hindi pwedeng walang theory, kasi the theory will also how you think about what constitutes data, yung ano yung importanteng i-collect na information, that is informed on some level by a theoretical approach. So the short answer is yes, some theory is useful, no, na dun sa kahit anong research gamitin natin. So I'm so sorry, we've kind of run out of time, no. We have two
Yes.
minutes left, and I don't think that there's enough time to answer these questions. But we thank you so much for your active engagement, and we hope
Yes
that
po.
in a future session, we're going to be able to answer more questions about maybe the how-tos, no? Kasi mukhang ganun yung
Mm.
direction ng interest ng mga tao, no? Paano ba kinoconduct yung qualitative research, or anong issues yung surrounding qualitative research, because some other questions that we could not answer tonight are about replicability, especially politically motivated or is made by an organization which analyzes a repeating phenomenon. I don't know if elections is what the participant means.
Okay.
And then questions on whether the BQQRG is relevant for linguistic research. So that's something that we can also think about in a future session, no? Yung applicability ng BQQRG for a broader range of research types. So I turn you over now to Dr. Parcon.
Yeah. Thank you again, Doc Sam and Doc Mitch. Before you guys go, no, we would really love to hear some feedback from you. So you can scan the QR code that you can see on the screen, or you can click on the link that I just sent to chat box, at least for those who are in the Zoom room. So please do click on that link and answer that. For those who are watching us via FB Live, Facebook Live, so please do scan this particular QR code. Also, kung meron man na uh, kunyari na-refer nyo itong video na ito and you watch this on demand on your free time, please do scan this particular QR code. I think that's the only thing I have that I can say at this point. So I guess I hope that we can see you guys again on our next seminar. Meron pa ba sa
Yes.
so we
Mag-iisip
will
muna kami.
so we will
Mag-isip muna
prepare
tayo.
more. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So
Tapos, ano na lang po, ako last, kung gusto nyong maging part ng pool of reviewers, you can also scan the QR code there. And if you want to send an article for consideration sa PSSR, please visit our website or please email us also. So yeah, so thank you again for coming to this evening's session. Sana may natutunan kayo and sana mas nainganyo kayong mag-conduct ng quality research, tsaka also mag-submit or sa may mga nakatenga na thesis or dissertation na gawin siyang manuscript. So,
Yes,
ayun.
please.
Maraming salamat.
thank you again, everyone. Happy Friday. That's Sam.
Thank you. Salamat din.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.